Well, hi everybody. Welcome back to Management 453, Creativity and Innovation in Business. I'm Neil Fogarty. I'm going to be your host today as we take a look at the final chapter in our textbook. I think it's chapter 9, and it's on mindset. Mindset. So under mindset, I just have a couple of key points to raise. I'm going to talk about an introduction, and I'm going to give you some examples of what people on the web say about mindset. What does it have to do with creativity and innovation? What's it have to do with entrepreneurship, etc.? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to conclude by talking about a video that I want you to watch with regard to our class. So let's go ahead and let's get started with this lecture for today. And I want to start off just with an introduction and a couple of thoughts I want to mention. You know, if you think about throughout this term, we've used the word mindset quite a lot. In fact, the author uses it in every chapter of the book that she has, particularly in every chapter with regard to the 6 I's. And she'll talk, for example, about the mindset of an improver or the mindset of an implementer or investigator or whatever it might be. So one of the things that you might want to do is you might want to go back and look in your notes and take a look just at the mindset sections of the chapters we've covered, particularly the chapters on an I. And you know, one of the things I might suggest that you do when you look at that is to ask yourself, you know, how are the mindsets similar and how are they different? How are they similar? How are they different? And I think that you'll see there's a lot of commonality, but there's at least a subtle difference with regard to many of them. In some cases, probably even more than a subtle difference that we have. So again, under this introduction, keep in mind she mentioned mindset a lot. And that must mean in her eyes that she thinks that mindset is really important with regard to creativity and innovation. And I think she's right. And we've talked about it in class, and I think you believe it's right as well. And also along those lines, too, as you're going back and looking at things, you might want to try to define the word mindset. Because, again, mindset's not necessarily how I feel on any given day. I get up today and I'm in a great mood, or I get up tomorrow and I stub my toe and I'm in a bad mood or whatever. So, I guess my mindset for, that morning or whatever, might be impacted by that. But we're not talking about a mindset of how you feel in any given moment. We're talking about that mindset that's part of your character, that drives you, that's been there for quite some time, and is probably going to be there for some time. It's not, as I say, your attitude in a given day. It is this mindset that you have that is much more concrete and a much bigger part of you. And again, think how that can influence you with regard to how creative you are, how innovative you are, and also if you're entrepreneurial with regard to it. So that finishes the first topic, the introduction. So let's go to the second topic. And the second topic, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some buzz phrases with regard to mindsets and lists with regard to mindset of things I found on the web. When I looked up mindset, what did they say? In fact, if you go and just type in mindset, say to Google, then the number of hits you're going to get is going to be astronomical. And if you go even to a YouTube or whatever and type in mindset, you're going to get a ton of those as well. So somebody somewhere, including your author, including me, thinks mindset has something to do with this course. So let's take a look at some of these. And there's websites I looked at. One of the first, I went to a website and it said, what are the 3 traits of an entrepreneurial mindset? The 3 traits of an entrepreneurial mindset. And as you watch through that video, the 3 traits that are mentioned there are you're resilient, you're resourceful, and you're solutions-oriented. Resilient, resourceful, solutions-oriented. I can't argue with any of them, right? I mean, your mindset, if you're creative and innovative, you have to be resilient. You have to, not everybody's going to like the new ideas that you come up with or whatever. You're going to be smacked around a little bit, be knocked off that horse we talked about. but you just have to hop back on the horse, learn from what happened, make a pivot, and keep riding on. So you have to be resilient. The concept of resourceful, of course, my goodness, if I'm creating something new, I probably need various resources to create it. And some of those resources already exist, but they're all over the place. I got to pull them together. Some of those resources I might even have to invent myself, etc. So you certainly need resources. So you have to be resourceful. Can I gather these resources up? And then the concept of being solutions-oriented. I mean, think about that. If you look at that model that she put together, or Arthur put together, right in the middle of the model, all the 6 eyes and the circle and everything else like that, right in the middle is the word purpose. And you want to keep in mind what your purpose is. And your purpose, we talked about, oftentimes you're looking at, what problems are out there, what are people suffering through, what businesses need, etc. And then how can we solve those problems? So you do have to be solutions oriented. So I think the first website I went to and talked about this is pretty good. And I believe that came from MIT. So, MIT probably knows what they're talking about here. Another thing that's mentioned here, the next of the videos that I'll take a look at, it's called the 6 traits of people with an entrepreneurial mindset. The 6 traits of people with an entrepreneurial mindset. Well, okay, we're now talking about mindset, and again, we're talking about an entrepreneurial mindset. Now they're talking about the 6 traits. So is it so much, are they telling us about the mindset, or are they telling about the traits of the people with a mindset? Well, let's take a look at this. And as I recall, let me flip the page here. Yep, I got it all right here. They have 6 traits. So let's take a look at these 6 traits. The first trait, they're creative thinkers. Well, we're talking about a course in creativity and innovation, and we're also talking about a course that falls under, CIANT, corporate innovation and entrepreneurship. So we're talking about, entrepreneurs. So yeah, you have to be creative, right? You have to be a creative thinker, because if all you do is think about things that people have already done before, you're not being very creative. You're just doing what they're doing. You're not being a first mover. And certainly, one of the strategic keys to success is coming up with something new, being a first mover, something new and unique that people want, need, etc. So you have to be a creative thinker. The second of the traits is these people, they take action. Boy, don't they take action. And we talked about that in the 6 eyes, amongst other things. We talked about implementers, the doers or whatever that we have. Because again, if you have this really great idea, this creative and innovative idea, and it's in your head, well, that's lovely, but how can I make any money off of it? How can I make anything of value off of it as long as it's up here? To make it valuable, you have to put this thought into action. You have to implement it. So we talked about that, and I think that's probably a good trait too. The next trait that they mentioned here, they're good listeners. They listen. Remember the concept we talked about, the young girl who was in my class a number of years ago, where the grandmother said, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you speak. I think that's absolutely true here. We talked about it then. If you're going to be creative and innovative, the odds are not all the ideas are going to come out of here. They're going to come out of things that you see and hear and, talking with people and whatever, etc. So one of the things you're going to do a lot of is you're going to listen. You're going to see what bothers you, what are your problems, what do you need, what have you tried, what worked, what didn't work, etc. You're going to listen. And again, go back to the snowflake lab that we had. Think about that. After you finally figured out, well, I should be listening to what the buyers want, think how things went so much better for your team, and you made much more improved snowflakes that probably sold and got some money. You became much more productive and efficient and profitable, etc. So indeed, I think this concept of listening is certainly a trait. The next trait that's mentioned here is these people, they see the big picture. They see the big picture. Well, I would think so. I mean, if all we do, and we've mentioned this before, if all we do is we just focus, right in front of our face, think about it as you go to campus, how many people are carrying one of these things, and they're not looking where they're walking, they're not looking at people, they're just looking at their phone. Oftentimes they, bump into people, they trip over curbs, they almost get hit by cars or whatever, etc. like that. They don't see the big picture. They might be doing a great job with regard to this. Oh, I found a wonderful website. The music is great. I'm sending a notice to a buddy of mine or whatever. And I just read, some text that just came in. Great. But insofar as seeing the big picture, you're not seeing the big picture. You're just seeing the small picture here. I think that to be creative and innovative, and we've talked about this before, you have to see the big picture, the broad perspective of what's going on. How does everything fit together? And again, if you're trying to bring in a solution or whatever, don't you have to see the big picture? It's not just, I saw one little aspect of it. You want to see how your solution, your creative idea, etc., can fit the whole thing and solve the whole thing for a whole lot of different people, etc., like that. So indeed, you're looking at the big picture, and also the big picture to get the resources. Where can I find this and whatever? So again, they see the big picture. The next trait that's mentioned here, another good trait. This is just a great list as well. And this came from an entrepreneur website from VCU. And they say another thing that you see, another trait, is they learn from experience. Isn't that the case? Think about this. Most of what we learn, remember we were talking about the platform-based learning approach. Most of what we learn, most of what we have in knowledge came from our past experiences. And we've learned from it. So many of us, we go through and we experience something and we pay no attention to it. We don't learn from it. So we go through and honestly, it's amazing that we, can move anywhere without learning from the past mistakes that we have. So most of us learn at least a little bit from it. But someone who is really good and has this trait of an entrepreneurial, mindset or whatever, they're going to learn from their experience, that platform-based learning approach. They're going to, hey, from what happened here, let's try this, that, and the other. They'll learn from their experience. And then the last of the traits that's mentioned in this particular website, also really cool, they want to have an impact. They want to be impactful. Think about in the first class that we had, you had an assignment to go out and watch a couple of videos, a couple on Steve Jobs, etc., and I think there was a TED Talk or whatever, etc., with regard to that. Think about it with Steve Jobs and, the movie we talked about, Pirates of Silicon Valley. One of the things he said is he was recruiting the new CEO of Apple, who had been the CEO of Pepsi. He said, do you want to make sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to make history? There's someone who wanted to make a big impact. It's Steve Jobs. Want to make an impact. In fact, if you listen to some of the things that he said about the crazies or whatever, these are people who think they can change the world and can do it. Well, if you're changing the world, aren't you making a heck of a good impact? Why, I would think that that's the case too. So let's go to the next of the videos that I watched that I think has something to do with this. It was called The 5 Dimensions of Entrepreneurial Mindsets. The 5 Dimensions. Notice, they're all playing games with words, the 5 dimensions or whatever. But think about some of these things. Again, these are the 5 dimensions of entrepreneurial mindsets. One is self-efficacy. Self-efficacy, rely upon yourself. You believe in yourself, you can get things done, you believe in yourself. The next is locus of control. Now, there's a buzz phrase for you. Some of you might not know what that phrase means. As you go through life, some of you and some of us say, hey, we're responsible for, our lives. We're the bottom line is we did it. But a lot of times, either we or a lot of people look and say, it's not my fault, it's your fault. I did it because you made me do it. I wasn't in control, you controlled me. For example, you're working someplace, and your boss tells you to go left, and you go left and have an accident. It's not your fault, it's your boss's fault. Why? You had no control. So locus of control is basically saying people have an entrepreneurial mindset think, I'm responsible. I'm in charge of my own life, and if I'm not, shame on me. I'm going to figure out a way to do that. They have this concept that they're in control. At least they should be, and they're going to try to be in control. The next of the dimensions, as mentioned on this website, says that these people believe in their capabilities. They believe in their capabilities. They're confident. I know I can do a couple of things. There's some things I can't, and I'll learn how to do it, or I'll build a team to fill in the gaps or whatever. But I have this confidence. I have a belief in my capabilities. What I know I can use, and I can do all sorts of great things with it. I'm confident. One of the other classes that I teach here at Penn State is Strategic Management of Technology and Innovation. So here we have a Creativity and Innovation class. That's a Strategic Management of Technology and Innovation. And in that class, we have a number of CEOs that the students interview. It's not so much they come to class and, gab, and you've all been in those type of classes where you have a guest speaker, and a lot of students now start to zone out because the guest speaker's going off and they're rambling and usually in monotone. In these classes, the students actually interview the speaker. So the speaker will come in and say a few words, but that's it, just a few words. The rest of it, you're being interviewed. And one of the things that you could see clearly from everyone that we had in this last class, we had 5 of these CEOs, all successful, all multimillionaires, some from small companies, some from big, some from new, some from old or whatever. But one of the things that you saw with every single one of them is a belief about their own capabilities, a belief that they could do it. Do we have self-doubts? Everybody has self-doubts. But people who have this entrepreneurial mindset, self-doubt or not, by gosh, I know I can do it and I'm going to get it done. The next of the dimensions that's mentioned here, and this fits in too, they're motivated. They're not only motivated, they're also motivators, etc. And think about the importance of motivation. With regard to one of the topics, one of the labs we had in class, I asked you to go out and collect cans of pet food for the homeless dogs and cats at the pet shelter or whatever. And after you went to the pet shelter and you saw these, cute animals that really need help, and some of them are old, some are young, some are big and small, some are cats, dogs, or whatever. Think about that, how that increased your motivation. It no longer was just a project to get, an A in a class or get something done in the class. My God, you're helping the helpless, helping this poor little animal or whatever. And think how that motivation increased your drive, increased your productivity, and probably and hopefully increased the creativity and innovation you have. You got to get it done. I'm driven. I'm going to get it done. And the standard way of getting it done, I'm going to collect 10 cans. But if I'm creative and innovative, I can collect 100 or 200 or 1,000 or whatever like that. So again, you'll tend to find that entrepreneurial mindsets usually include people who are self-motivated and also people who can motivate others. Think about this, these ideas you come up with, these creative and innovative ideas you come up with. Can you do it alone? No. You get into the implementation stage, I got to get other people involved. As I'm starting to form the ideas or whatever and trying to get people invested in our things, I got to get people involved on my team or whatever. I have to be able to motivate others. I have to be able to sell the idea to others. I think one of the speakers that we had that was interviewed in this other class was a student like you. And this student's, making, probably a couple $100,000 from a couple of websites that he's done. He's a student just like you. And you can see as he came in and he talked to the class or whatever, how motivated he is. And that motivation, you go someplace and you find somebody who's motivated, it inspires you. Motivation is catchy. It's like COVID. It's catchy or whatever. It's good. It's not bad like COVID is. And if you go and you're trying to sell this idea to people, if you're motivated, oftentimes you find that motivation, your inspiration, inspires them too. That helps a lot. Well, let's take a look at the last of the dimensions, and that is that they have a high level of resilience, Remember, the other list talked about resiliency, etc., a high level of resilience. Yep, I know, whatever ideas I'm coming up with, creative and innovative, again, something else we talked about in class, that thing from Steve Jobs where he said you want genius, you get madness. They're two sides of the same coin. You want genius, you get madness. They're two sides of the same coin. And what he was talking about there and what we talked about in class is how often you come up with this new idea, this creative, innovative idea. And because it's new, people oftentimes look at you and think you're absolutely mad. Are you crazy? Why would you think about doing that, etc.? But if you can show it works, if it does work or whatever, then look at you, you're a genius or whatever. Well, to get to the genius stage, to get to where everybody's saying, oh, we love you, remember we also mentioned you have to, that pathway of disasters or whatever we talked about in class. You have to have a whole lot of no's before you can get a yes. Well, if you're not resilient, after a couple of no's, you're not going any further. You have to be resilient, so you keep going past the no's, blow past the no's, and eventually, you'll get those yeses that you need. So that was the next website, and that was the 5 dimensions of entrepreneurial mindsets. Well, let's go to the next website. I've got about 3 or 4 more that I have here. The next is called the 9 Qualities. The 9 Qualities of an entrepreneurial mindset. The 9 Qualities of an entrepreneurial mindset. This came from another university here. And the 9 Qualities, I'll go through them. First off, see if you agree or disagree, and also see if you see some tie-in to what we said in some of the other lists I gave to you, and also some tie-in to what you see we did in class. One of the qualities is, people in entrepreneurial mindset, they're determined. Absolutely. I know my purpose. I know I can do it. I'm going to get the job done. They're determined. Another of the qualities, they're focused. They're not going in 10 different directions or whatever. They have that purpose. They're going to go that way. Now, doesn't mean they're not flexible and they'll try this, that, and the other, and they're looking at other things, absolutely, but they're focused. They know what I've got to do, and I'm focused on that. I'm not going to be overwhelmed. I'm not going to get off track or whatever. I'm going to be focused. The next of the qualities, they have drive. They're driven, right? Of course they're driven. They have this idea that they really have this passion for, this enthusiasm for, the motivation that we talked about. So they're driven. Well, they better be. Because as you go along life, there are so many holes and ruts in the road. There's so many barriers. You can't get up and over. Remember, in fact, in one of our classes we talked about how to go up and under, around, or through barriers, etc. that are there. You have to have that drive. If you don't have that drive, you're not going to go very far. And you're not going to be able to implement and get value from these creative and innovative ideas that you have. Another of the qualities mentioned here is they're decisive. They're decisive. They indeed are. They can think of 5 million different things of trying this, that, and the other, but they make decisions. They find a way to make decisions. Oh, and they might change their decision as they go along and things aren't working, whatever, but they're decisive. They're not willy-nilly. Because if you're not decisive, you can't hit the go button. You can't hit the drive, etc., because you're all over the place. Remember I mentioned in class the one example of the godfather of one of my children who wants to put up a blog. And he's been thinking about this for years and years and years and years and years. And he keeps doing research and research and research. Be decisive. Make a decision. All those different things you learned. Yeah, it's a blog, for goodness sake. Get going. Get decisive. Make the decisions. Get going. The next of the qualities that are mentioned here, independence. Yeah, that's a good one, right? Think about this. Most entrepreneurs tend to be independent. They're blazing trails. Remember earlier in this class we talked about, people who are innovators. We called them pioneers. Well, pioneers are usually independent. Oh, you have to use other people. Absolutely. You've got a team, etc. And so there is dependence on others, but they're independent. If this person doesn't help me, I don't care. I'm still going to get it done. I'm going to find a way to get it done. I am going to get it done. They're independent. They don't rely upon others. They use others. They build teams or whatever, but they don't rely on it. If you're not on my team, I'm still going to figure out how to do this. I'll get somebody else to join my team, but I'm independent. I'm getting this done. And also think about this too. A lot of people who work someplace who are not an entrepreneur, well, they're dependent on that job, right? They're dependent on their employer, etc. like that. Someone who's an entrepreneur, they're dependent on themselves, but they're not really dependent on others. They're maybe dependent on a marketplace and things like that. But again, there's a tremendous amount of independence that they have. Let's take a look at the next quality that's mentioned here, and that's authenticity. Authenticity. Yep, they're authentic. They really believe this stuff. They're not pulling wool over your eyes. They're not, lying and all this other stuff. They really believe what they're talking about. They're authentic people. They're not fakes. They're not phonies. The next of the qualities, another really good one, flexibility. My God, you got to be flexible, right? You're trying all these different things and you're going down paths nobody's ever gone before. That Star Trek video thing that we watched, going where no person's ever gone before or whatever. You better be flexible. No matter how good your plan is, remember we talked about planning and things like that. No matter how good your plan is, you better be flexible because your plan is going to, die before the ink is dry on it, etc. But if it's a war plan, before the first bullet flies or whatever. So you have to be flexible. You have to be able to adjust and adapt. I think in class we talked about the resiliency thing. You're knocked off your horse. We want to jump right back on. But we also added, then you want to pivot. You want to learn from what happened. So you don't want to have the same problem again in the future. You want to pivot and then go forward, i.e. you want to be flexible. All that stuff you're learning, remember talking about discovery-based learning approach or whatever, you have to be flexible. If you learn something new and don't use it, and don't, let's say for example, you're going down the road and one of these things, Siri tells you, the road up ahead is closed or whatever. Well, now that you have that information, are you going to flexibly change which direction you're going? Maybe use another road or something like that. So one of the things you've got to be is you actually have to be flexible as we go through here. And by the way, as I just picked up my phone and put it down, Siri started to talk to me. I have no idea why. In fact, I think it wanted to spell the word flexible. But then let's go to the next of the qualities. Just two more here on the list. The next is a thirst for knowledge. A thirst for knowledge. Remember, we talked about the learning approaches or whatever, and the fact that they like to learn, and you learn from the environment, and you learn from your customers or whatever. A thirst for knowledge. I think early in class we talked about something called mentioning that information is power. In fact, Steve Jobs had mentioned that in that movie that we saw or we talked about with regard to Microsoft and Apple, Pirates of Silicon Valley. A thirst for knowledge. You just learn things. As things go on, learn. Let's learn some more, because information is power. The more information I have, well, at least to some degree, the more information I have, the better things are going to be. I will know how to do things better and know what to avoid and all those other things. So they have a thirst for knowledge. And then the last of the qualities is they're creative. They're creative. And again, it's not necessarily being creative, oh, they're good with a crayon and they're good with paints. And, no, we're talking about they're creative problem solvers. They see things that other people don't see. They're kind of visionary. And remember one of our classes, we talked about them as dreamers or whatever. They're creative. They see things and they come up with things that other people don't. And they're very good at this, because of the fact that they are creative. I'll just give you one other example here. Think about you have a bunch of young kids around, really young kids, and you give them some crayons, right? And some paper. Hopefully give them some paper. They start drawing things up, down, around, etc. They're drawing all sorts of things. They're creative. Oh, I am so sorry. They're creative, etc. And you're going to find that someone who has an entrepreneurial mindset is also creative. Well, let's go to the next video that I watched. And the next video is called The 3 Key Elements, the 3 C's of an Entrepreneurial Mindset. The 3 C's of an Entrepreneurial Mindset. So I'm going to give you 3 things. I'm going to start with C. Did you see that one coming? Let's take a look at these. The first C of an entrepreneurial mindset is curiosity. Yeah, we talked about that in class, didn't we? They're curious. They want to figure out how things work and what do you need, etc. Who are you? The second C, connections. They're very good at networking. They make connections. And not only do they make connections between people, they're also able to connect ideas. And they're also able to connect resources. They're also able to do this, that, and the other. They make connections. They see patterns that we don't see, etc. They see links that we don't see. They make connections. And those connections help them to be much more creative and innovative. And then the last of the 3 C's, the last of the 3 key elements here, is they create value. They create value. And we've talked about that a number of times in class. If you're coming up with some creative and innovative idea, it should create value. I mean, it's nice, I suppose, if it's pretty and stuff. Maybe that's value in itself. Maybe it gives you a moment of peace when you look at it. Maybe it makes you happy or whatever. But it should create value, whether it's monetary value or some other type of value. The creativity that you have, this entrepreneurial mindset you have, is you want to create value from it. And we mentioned earlier that you probably cannot create value from an idea alone. You have to, what did we talk about? You have to implement it. Well, that finishes that video. So let's go to the next video that we have here. It's called The 11 Secrets of an Entrepreneurial Mindset. The 11 Secrets of an Entrepreneurial Mindset. You gotta love all these different videos out there, and they're actually good, right? These ideas are really pretty cool, but they got all these different lists or whatever. But when you think about it, whether you call it an apple or an orange or whatever, we're getting some pretty good fruit out of this stuff. So let's take a look at some of the 11 secrets of an entrepreneurial mindset. The first, entrepreneurs, this entrepreneurial mindset, someone who's creative and innovative, they understand themselves, they understand others, and they understand the world around them. They understand themselves, they understand others, and they understand the world around them. That makes sense. You look in a mirror, you have to figure out who you are, what are your talents and abilities, what are your strengths and weaknesses or whatever. So you have to understand yourself. As you do this, you have to understand your marketplace, your customers. You have to understand the team you're building, the people you're working with, financiers and investors and stuff like that. You have to figure out suppliers or whatever. So you understand others. You better, right? You've got a whole bunch of people that are involved in this, and then you understand the world around you. That includes not only these people that we just talked about, but what's going on in the world. How's the economy, and where are things going in the future. Again, going back to this concept that we talked about a lot early on with Steve Jobs, a lot of people said that Steve Jobs was a visionary. He not only saw the world as it is today, but he also saw the world as it was going to be. So this concept of seeing the world around you, yep, and I would suggest to add to it, it's not just seeing the world around you as it is today, but let's take a look at what do we think it's going to be like tomorrow. So with regard to these 11 secrets, that's the first one, pretty good one. Second one is you want to clearly define what you want to do, or they clearly define what they want to do. Again, they're decisive, they're focused, right? They have this purpose. Again, going back to one of the key things about this class, they have an idea of what they want to do. Does it mean they won't deviate as time goes on? They learn things, hey, this isn't working, discovery-based learning or whatever. No, they'll make flexible changes. They'll make that pivot or whatever. But they actually know what they want to do. They have defined what they want to do, and they're usually pretty good at telling you what they want to do. You've heard of the concept of the elevator pitch speech. Oftentimes you'll find people who are good entrepreneurs, good creative and innovative people. Oftentimes they're able to express it fairly succinctly to others, and we talked about that concept about the elevator pitch speech. Well, let's take a look at the third secret of the 11. They protect and prioritize their time. Wait, isn't that the case? They protect and prioritize their time. Think about, just in the course of a day, how often you are interrupted with something that you're doing. Social media, texting, everybody's calling you, etc. You got 5 million emails that came in. You have people, knocking at your door, making noise over here. You've got all these other things going on. And some of them are really good, right? It's not like all of them are a waste. It's not like everything you get in the mail's junk mail. But if I spend all my time doing that, I'm not going to be able to get done with the project I have. I'm not going to be able to focus on the project. So one of the things I've seen amongst entrepreneurs and amongst people who are very innovative and creative is they prioritize what they're doing so they can get it done better, and they protect it. There is certainly me time for them. Get away, I'm thinking about this. They protect and they prioritize their time. They're not letting people steal their time from them, because if you think about it, time is quite a valuable resource that you have. Well, let's go to the next of these secrets that we mentioned, the 11 secrets. The next is they're outcome-oriented. They're outcome-oriented. They're action-oriented. They want outcomes. They want results. We're not here just to talk and etc. We want to have a result with regard to this. So again, they're outcome-oriented. They're doers. They're not talkers. The next of the, let's see what I call secrets, I'm sorry. The next of the secrets is they deal with facts and not fluff. They deal with facts and not fluff. Well, if you're going to be good at coming up with new ideas and creative ideas and entrepreneurial ideas or whatever, yeah, there's times in life you have to deal with some fluff and maybe even create it, some spin or whatever. But they deal with facts. What's really going on? I mean, if I'm going to solve this problem, to heck with all this fluff stuff. Let's get right down to it. Have you ever, and maybe in our class, you started to read the book or whatever, and you're wondering, what's the point? Let's get to the point. To heck with all this fluff stuff. And again, times of an essence here. What's the point? They deal with facts and not fluff. The next of these secrets that they have is they live to provide value and service. Provide value and service. They're driven to create that value, provide a service, sell a good, whatever it might be. They're driven, and again, it's this concept of value. They're either providing a value to their customers, maybe a value to themselves, maybe a value to their employees, but they're going to provide value. This new and creative idea that I came up with is going to provide value. It is going to help to serve you in some way. It's going to provide value. The next of these secrets, I'm sorry, I have to keep looking at the page, and I'm sorry about that. The next of these secrets is they are able to perform a mind makeover. This is an interesting one. They're able to perform a mind makeover. If you think about it, when you face a new problem, oftentimes when you face that new problem, you bring with you that cart, that platform-based learning approach that we talked about. You also bring with you those attitudes that you have. I woke up this morning and this, that, or the other. And, that's not going to help you very much. To go forward, you have to look forward. You're not looking that rearview mirror all the time, what happened in the past. And you're not letting, okay, the fact I stubbed my toe this morning is going to screw up my day, all my day, and I'm going to miss some great opportunities or whatever. You just clear your mind. You have a mind makeover. You go back to the focus of what you're going to do and clear out those presumptions and assumptions or whatever that we have. You want to be careful about that. There was a line in the movie Pirates of Silicon Valley that is somewhat similar to this, and we have the actor who's portraying Bill Gates talk about Steve Jobs and put Steve Jobs down in this, but he said that Steve Jobs saw what he believed instead of the other way around. He saw what he believed instead of the other way around, which meant, I have this belief, but as I'm going through life and things pop up, facts pop up that don't fit, I just push them aside. I only see what I believe. And I think you can see that a lot. If you have any relative or whatever who, watches these news programs that are all politically oriented, and I don't care if they're, on the blue side or the red side or in the middle or whatever, what you tend to see is that facts don't necessarily mean a lot to them, or only the facts that back up their point. But the facts saying that they're wrong, well, they don't want to pay attention to that. Well, maybe you should have a mind makeover. Let's clear myself of these biases that I have, these presumptions and assumptions I have. Let's look at things with that open mind. And we did talk about the importance of having an open mind in class. And I think one of the last I's we were talking about improvers. They oftentimes approach things with an open mind. Because if you come there with the baggage that you had before, if you have a closed mind, you probably aren't going to figure out a way to improve things. Well, let's take a look at the next of the 11 secrets that we have. Again, take a look at this next word we mentioned before. They're focused. Another secret, they're focused. Well, yes, indeed, we've said that before. They're focused. If you're going to get done with something, you have to focus on it. You can't be a scatterbrain and all over at a different place. So you're focused on it. The next that we have here, the next of their secrets, they have success by association. Success by association. There's a couple of ways to identify this, but one of the things that we talked about, I think, a couple of times in class is oftentimes it's not what you know, but rather who you know. It's not the grades you make, it's the hands you shake. Success by association. You're going to find greater success by associating yourself with others. Find people of different backgrounds and different viewpoints. Find people who are more successful than you in particular, and associate with these people. And you're going to find that you're probably going to sponge ideas off of them, sponge enthusiasm off. It's probably going to help you on your journey. And also another aspect of success by association is as you start to grow, as you become more successful as an entrepreneur, you're going to find that people are going to, when they think of you and they think of your product, they're going to automatically associate it with success and entrepreneurship and creativity, etc., like that. So again, of the 11 secrets, this last one was success by association. I have just two more, number 10 and number 11. The 11th secret, I'm sorry, the 10th secret is they take personal responsibility. They take personal responsibility. Remember what we were talking about a little bit before about, this locus of control or whatever? I take responsibility. If it didn't work, it's my fault. I ran into, in fact, I run into issues all the time, and I bet you do too, where somebody else is screwed up. It's clear that they screwed up, and maybe they screwed up 9 things, and I participated, and I helped them to do that. So I screwed up, one part. But what do they always do? They blame everybody else but themselves. I ran into that just the other day with regard to a doctor's admin who was scheduling me for an appointment or whatever. She made a horrible error with regard to reading some documents or whatever. But it wasn't her fault. Absolutely not. It was the people who wrote the documents or whatever. Well, I looked at what was written. I can kind of see where she was coming from, but the majority of me says, you're wrong, they were right, etc. So what you tend to see is that people who are really successful, these successful entrepreneurs, these people who have that creativity and innovation mindset, they take personal responsibility. I'm not blaming on others. Oh, I know others and impact it. I can't do anything in life hardly on my own. I got to have others, but I take personal responsibility. What's that old saying? The buck stops here. And then the final of these 11 secrets is gratitude. And I like this, and I didn't see this in the other lists that we took a look at, as gratitude. If you think about it, in your journey of life, in your journey to any type of business and career success, in your journey to entrepreneurial success, in your journey to have success with regard to creativity and innovation, there are probably a ton of people and others, associations there that helped you out. You didn't get to where you are on your own. Now, a lot of people say, oh yeah, thanks a lot, and then they don't do anything. But you know what? People who are really successful, hopefully they indeed do have real gratitude and show their gratitude. Let me give you an example here, though, that I thought was kind of appalling. I don't know what you think. There was not too long ago, a professional pitcher. I think he was a Cy Young winner. Very, very good pitcher. Young fellow. And making money hand over fist. They couldn't throw enough millions of dollars at him, every year in a season. And there was an article in the paper that he was all excited because recently he went out and he bought his father a pickup truck. And bought him a fairly good truck, but not top of the line or whatever. Maybe an F-150 or Silverado or something. Good trucks, right? Absolutely good trucks. But there are probably more expensive trucks out there. And from what I understand reading it, didn't buy the truck, with 5 million options, bought his dad a truck. Now that's really nice, right? And he said, I did it because, Dad helped me throughout my life. I absolutely agree. That's absolutely wonderful. And I'm glad that you showed your gratitude. But now, let me think about this. That particular year, I think the pitcher had just signed a contract for $50 million or something just for that year. And you're all excited because you just spent $50,000 on a truck for your dad? Well, I'm glad. Again, what you did is good. But shouldn't you have been showing your gratitude more often than that? In fact, this is apparently the first time he bought his dad anything. Other than, maybe a gift or, Christmas or birthday or something like that. Shouldn't you show gratitude? And let me add one other thing to this with regard to this concept of gratitude. Not only should you show gratitude, not only should you be grateful, and not only should you then act that out and show gratitude to those who helped you along, etc., but I think you should also show gratitude to your community. That means giving back, through nonprofits, volunteering your time, and helping, those who are less fortunate, etc. Show your gratitude. And again, I'm not saying that, people who made, $50 million last year should show $50 million worth of gratitude. But show some gratitude. Right now I have, as I might have mentioned earlier, in this class, some of you are doing a pet food can drive. And I know some of you went to one particular person who's helped our drives in the past. And this person actually visited our class recently and was bragging that this past year he made $10 to $11 million. And it kind of was bragging. I mean, he said it a number of times. I made $10 to $11 million. So a couple students went to him and said, hey, we've got this pet food can drive. Can you help us out? He didn't give them anything. A can of cat food costs like 50 cents, a can of dog food $1. And he didn't give them anything. And yet his kids went to the same school, etc. I just don't understand it with regard to it. So again, show your gratitude. And also not just to the people that helped you, but to society as well. Give back. I think that's an excellent secret for those people who are successful and have that entrepreneurial mindset. And one other thing I'll mention on this, as you're going through, you'll find that with regard to your workers, etc., that you give back to them as they're working. Thanks so much. Sometimes the best give back doesn't cost you a dime. Just pat somebody on the back and thank them. That can help out. Think about when you were a kid and you were on some sports team, and you came up and you got a hit or you recovered a fumble or whatever it might be. And think when a coach came up and said, good job. Or you're in class and a teacher came up and said, good job. They didn't have to pay you anything, but they were grateful for what you did. They patted you on the back, and think of how good that made you feel. So you should show your gratitude again to the people you work with, to your customers, to your community, etc., and to those people who got you there, parents and teachers and coaches and other things like that. Well, that finishes up the different videos that I watched, and you can see some of them I thought were really pretty good. So I'm going to conclude with this part. This is one other thing I want to mention, but this part I'm going to conclude. I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts? We had this fairly lengthy set of lists of secrets of entrepreneurs and characteristics of entrepreneurs and inventors and innovators and creators and all this other stuff. Mindset, this part of their mindset and that part of mindset. Now that you listen to all those, and I'm sure there are other lists that you could look at too, what do you think? Do you agree with the lists that I gave to you? Do you disagree? There's some things on the list you don't think should be there. Are there some things that should be on the list that aren't there? I would certainly think there's some things that are missing. What do you think? Well, now let me conclude this video lecture with regard to something that I suggest you do. In my class of students, you have to do it. And if you're just looking at this on YouTube, this is something that I suggest you do. This concept of mindset, I think, is really, really important with regard to your entrepreneurial success. I think it's really important with regard to how creative and innovative you are. For my class, I have them watch a video that I suggest that you watch too. And that video goes to a TV series back from the 1980s. I know it's old, I'm sorry, etc., but won all sorts of awards, lots of awards. And this TV series was called 30-something. 30-something. And it's about a bunch of friends who are in their 30s, young 30s. And if someone said, how old are they? Well, I don't know. They're 30-something or whatever. So there's where you get the name, the 30-something. And so that they've been out of school a little bit, and they have jobs or started businesses and might be starting a family. Some are not quite yet there and might still be dating or whatever. They're young 30s. They're 30-something. And the episode that I have my students watch and that I suggest that you watch came in the second season of it, and it was called First Day, Last Day. First Day, Last Day. And this episode actually won some TV awards, etc. And what First Day and Last Day is about is two of the main characters in 30-something, Michael and Elliot, formed a business, a partnership. I think it was an ad agency. And what you see in First Day, Last Day is you see them starting the business the first day and the days leading up to the first day. And then you see the last day. They end up closing the business. It's not successful. They fail. And you get to see the days leading up to the last day and then the closing. And what they did when they made this episode, and it was amazing, no wonder it won awards, is they didn't put it together saying, okay, here's the first part of the video, and here's when they started, and here's the second part of the show, and here's where they closed. What they did is they interspaced the scenes, or intersected, interlocked, whatever, integrated the scenes from the first day and the last day. So you'll see the scene from the first day where they're meeting each other and what are we going to do, etc. And then you'll see a scene from the last day. Oh my God, it's out of business. What are we going to do? And it goes back and forth all the way through to the end. And to kind of help it along, generally speaking, in the first day scenes and segments, those are in color. And in the last day scenes and segments, they're still in color, but it's a much more muted color. Almost not quite black and white. So if you get a chance, I would suggest that you watch that, because what you will see and very clearly see is a couple of things associated with mindset. The first, what's the difference in mindset between Michael and Elliot? You're going to see they formed a partnership, right? But did they have the same mindset? Did they have the same mindset at the beginning? Did they have the same mindset at the end? Did they have complementary or whatever? What do you think about their mindsets? What were their mindsets? Again, look at their mindsets at the beginning and look at their mindsets at the end. And then the second thing that I would suggest looking at, is opposed to just looking at the two, and how do their mindsets compare and contrast, I would also suggest that you look at how their mindset changed from first day to last day. Their mindset for first day, if you get a chance to watch this, is very different than their mindset for last day. And I'd like you to first identify what's the difference in the mindsets between the two of them, what's the difference in the mindset between opening and closing, etc. And then I would like you to think about this. What did their mindset have to do with the success or the failure of their company? What did the mindsets of each of those together, what did the mindsets of the start and the end have to do? Did mindset have anything to do with their success or failure? And again, now, okay, I got it. It's a TV show, right? It's all made up. But if you think about it, an awful lot of people who start a business, an awful lot of people who are innovators and creators, etc., they're impacted by their mindset. And I think that this video gives you an idea how mindset can impact your creativeness, your innovativeness, your entrepreneurialism, and the success or failure thereof. Well, that finishes my lecture for today, and that will be I believe, the end lecture in my series on creativity and innovation for 453. I hope that you've enjoyed the journey as we've gone from the beginnings, and we've went from purpose all the way through the I for improve, and then today with mindset. I hope you enjoyed the journey. I hope I haven't put you to sleep too much. I hope I gave you some things to think about that might help you become more creative and more innovative. Might help you on any entrepreneurial journey that you have. With that said and done, thank you so much for joining in on this. Thanks for being part of the team. We talked about gratitude earlier. I have a huge amount of gratitude. I'm so grateful for you folks sticking around with me and listening to this. Hopefully I've helped you on your journeys in the future, and if there's anything I can do to help you as you continue those journeys, whether it's tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now, don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. I'd be delighted to help you on the journey that you have, that hopefully is going to be an innovative and creative journey, and hopefully a successful one too. Well, thank you very much. See everybody later. Bye-bye.